We got one in the books, Miami Dolphins fans. Welcome to the Fins Up Network. It is Ben Morgan, and we just witnessed our Miami Dolphins kick off the 2024 NFL preseason with a 20-13 victory over the Atlanta Falcons. Now, in case you're new to the Fins Up Network, I would say that about 5% of me cares whether or not we won or lost that game. I think it was all 22 projected starters between offense and defense essentially did not play for the Miami Dolphins. Now, I know edge can kind of be debated because Jaylen Phillips, Bradley Chubb are on PUP. Regardless, the biggest thing from preseason that I care about, that I assume most of you care about, player evaluation. So we're going to jump into some of my biggest takeaways from tonight's victory over the Atlanta Falcons. We've got some player notes as well. Before we jump into all that, I want to hear from you. Your thoughts on the Miami Dolphins preseason opener. If you care about the win, go ahead, let me know. If there were some players that stood out, go ahead, let me know. If there was players that may be disappointed, go ahead and let me know. If you haven't gotten subscribed yet, make sure you are doing that as well. Let's kick some things off with some rookies that stood out tonight for the Miami Dolphins. I am recording this right after the game on Friday while everything's fresh in my mind. Probably won't release it until Saturday morning. But the Miami Dolphins offensive line, the starting offensive line for this first game was left to right. Patrick Paul, Keon Smith, Jack Driscoll, Lester Cotton, Ryan Hayes. So you hear those five names, and basically the biggest thing you say to yourself is, well, the only real true takeaway that we're going to get from the offensive line tonight is that performance from Patrick Paul at left tackle. Maybe we can get a little bit out of seeing a guy like Jack Driscoll at center. Regardless, I thought Patrick Paul played very well. Some of my notes, he climbed to the second level on a couple of run blocks very nicely in tonight's action. Very noticeable on Jaylen Wright's, I think it was his first longer carry. On the Jeff Wilson reception touchdown, Patrick Paul, I thought he made the perfect decision, the right decision. They brought in a blitz. He picked up that inside guy. He let that outside rusher go, just like you're taught to, just like the fundamentals would tell you to. And that's one of the things that maybe we questioned a little bit with Patrick Paul is, did he have the technique? Did he have the fundamentals? To my knowledge, from what I remember, he didn't have any flags on or called on him tonight. Didn't have that holding. Played this kind of very sound. He ended up picking that inside guy, let the outside rusher go free, gave Skylar Thompson just enough time to get that ball out. And the other nice thing is he played into the fourth quarter. I think there was only like 4 or 5 minutes when he was not in the game anymore at left tackle. So there are a lot of snaps that he put on film for this coaching staff to go over with him. Overall, I thought it was a very positive first game performance from the second rounder that in a perfect world, we don't even see in regular season action in 2024. But if we do, if tonight was any indication, at least we feel semi-positive. Let's keep it going with the rookies, because I thought that Jaylen Wright and Malik Washington just shown that they're going to add more explosion to this already explosive Miami Dolphins offense. Both of these guys had some positives, some negatives that we'll get to, but more importantly, you can tell that they've got solid potential in this offense and can add another level of explosion. Maybe when Achan's not in there or Mostert's not in there, or if Waddle or if Hill need a breather. These guys look like they maybe can fit the part. Malik Washington ends up getting the first crack at punt return. We talked about some negatives. We talked about some positives. He did muff the punt. He also did get the first crack at kick return. Later, probably his biggest play of the night was he took an end around for 21 yards after a run fake to Jaylen Wright. So they kind of teamed up. It's like, which one of these guys are you going to take away? Well, the run fake to Wright worked, flips it back to Washington. He goes for 21 yards. He only caught one of 4 targets for 5 yards. It wasn't a great night by the wide receivers. I'm not going to put a ton of stock in Miami's passing game tonight. We're going to chat about that here in a second. And I honestly don't really need to tell anybody this. Jaylen Wright is fast. Whew. He had back-to-back carries tonight. One went for 9, one went for 10, which opened up on the next play after those carries. A nice play-action pass from Skylar Thompson to Jody Fortson. Defense, you know what? We probably figured we should stop this guy that's running the ball so well. that kind of stuff, getting a running back that can really set that tone and you can rely on, opens up that play action passing. One of the Dolphins' better drives of the night. Wright ended up adding a 6-yard touchdown. That was when Atlanta botched the snap, basically gave the Dolphins the ball at the 6-yard line. But yet, his best, and maybe I should say craziest play, came in that second half where Mike White throws a screen out to Jaylen Wright. Jaylen Wright nearly drops the play. It almost looked like it was going to be terrible. Ends up bobbling it, catches it, immediately starts a screen pass. You want to catch the ball. You want to get upfield. He runs back towards the quarterback and starts going backwards, like completely crossing field. Looks like he's going to get tackled for a loss. But guess what? Remember that speed? That avoids that speed helps him avoid losing a bunch of yards. He ends up picking a first down. I believe it was 3rd and 12, and he picked up 14. He did have a botched handoff. Like I said, there were some positives and negatives. Him and Mike White had that botched handoff. Jaylen Wright ends up jumping on that one. But that speed, that playmaking ability, already evident, already put on display on Friday night. All right, let's talk about one other playmaker. I believe Tanner Conner actually led the Miami Dolphins in receiving on the night as well. He went for 43 yards on a 3rd and 5 play where Skylar kind of put it in that honey hole in that zone coverage. Conner ends up breaking a tackle, and then he shows a little bit about what he can do after the catch as well, being a former wide receiver. And now that he's put on a little bit of weight and playing tight end, he was not the easiest to bring down as well. Yeah, he finished with 70 yards, 3 catches on 4 targets. The issue, however, he left with an injury on another chunk yardage reception. I believe he picked up like 20 or 21 on the play. As of, like I said, Friday night, I'm being told it's an ankle spray. The x-rays were negative. However, I believe there may be the idea of an MRI pending. Regardless, that's going to be something for us to monitor, as we basically got to try to sort out that tight end position after Jonnu, after Durham Smythe, after Julian Hill, all guys that did not play, mind you, on the night. It was basically Tanner Conner, Forts, and you had Hayden Rucci in there as well. Let's keep talking about these rookies, though. I thought Patrick McMorris, at least for me, he exceeded expectations in his preseason debut. He and Curtis Bolton tied for the team leading tackles. They both had 8. He had 2 notable tackles for a loss in the first half. He nearly intercepted a pass halfway through the 3rd quarter on a play where he was behind the wide receiver. He almost picked it off, but regardless, he got the pass breakup, which, as the announcers pointed out, without drawing the pass interference. And typically, if you're playing behind the wide receiver, you end up playing through the wide receiver. He avoided that contact, got the hand in, didn't get the pass interference call. Quite honestly, Patrick McMorris was, I would say, the draft pick that I questioned the most back in April, but I thought he was pretty impressive in his debut as well. All right, let's go through some other player notes that I had here to wrap everything up. Grayson Murphy, I thought, set the absolute tone early with the tackle for loss that he had on the first play of the game. He did get dinged up, gave a little bit of concern right there. He did return. He also did get called for, he got drawn offside. But as we talked with him, that's such a loaded position, especially when Jalen Phillips gets healthy, and who knows about Bradley Chubb right now. Curious to see if Grayson Murphy can crack the 53, or maybe he's a practice squad candidate as well. Should note both Chop Robinson and Mohamed Kamara, neither of those suited up or played tonight for the Dolphins. We talked about the quarterbacks. All right. So Skylar drew the start. I'm not going to look too much into who drew the start tonight. I don't think that's very notable. Had a bit of an ugly interception. He tried to force the ball into Malik Washington. I'm not going to put that entire throw on Skylar Thompson. Ryan Hayes allowed a pressure on the play, led to some contact on Skylar basically as he was letting it go. Mike White did play the entire second half. He didn't look great either. Skylar finished 8 of 19, 95 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Mike White finished 4 of 14, 26 yards. And if you watch the game, he slid earlier than he needed to on a 3rd down play, which resulted in a 4th down there late in the game as well. I know it's only preseason. I know that they're not playing with the Tyreeks, the Waddles, the Odell Beckhams, the top-tier talent of this offense. I still say we need to try to upgrade this backup quarterback position if at all possible. If Tua goes down, thoughts and prayers to this Miami Dolphins offense. The defense, I thought the defense, man, it got to flash some of its potential with creating turnovers, some success with blitzing as well. Duke Riley, Saran Neal teamed up for that forced fumble early in the game. Neal recovered it on the Falcons' second drive. Quentin Bell, training camp standout so far. He comes in untouched on a third down blitz, which forced a slight overthrow from Michael Penix. That forced the Falcons to attempt a field goal instead of getting the touchdown there. Channing Tindall, he timed up a blitz perfectly, got in for a huge sack to end the first half. For the most part, I really like what I saw from the new defensive coordinator, Anthony Weaver. The nice thing is, I say that knowing that it's preseason, it's week 1 of preseason. We're not seeing very much so far. And from what we did get to see tonight, I did like what I saw. We had some corners step up, make some plays tonight as well. Nick Needham had that really nice diving pass break up on third down. Storm Duck was in coverage on back-to-back incomplete passes. The first one was a really solid pass breakup where he got his hand in between the receiver's hands, knocked the ball away. He actually made some nice plays at the end of the game to really wrap up the win as well. It actually was kind of an entertaining finish. Like I said, I don't care about the wins and losses in the preseason, but I thought the Dolphins defense, for where Atlanta had the ball on their final 2 drives, to be able to hold them out of the end zone. I know that last play looked like it might have been a touchdown. Regardless, I really like the way the defense responded. The defensive line, holy cow. How about the defensive line? I should have looked up the stat, but the Atlanta Falcons, would they have like 1 or 2 like notable carries the entire night? We really stopped their run game. And once again, it's not like Bijan Robinson or Algier were playing. But at the end of the day, I thought all of our defensive linemen played really damn well. Gallimore played well. Isaiah Mack was making plays out there. There was not too much negative to say about our Miami Dolphins defensive line. To wrap it up here, my original note was about Jason Sanders, and it basically said that this dude is going to be asked to pee in a cup on Saturday if he ends up going to the facility, because he hit a 58-yarder, which looked like it probably would have been good from about 68. He later hit from 46, but man, I'll tell you what, he shanked that 58-yarder pretty bad later in the game. And I know 58's a long field goal, but I'd almost have to go back and look. That one just did not look good from the initial kick off his foot. Something was kind of wonky there. Kind of unsexy to end on a special teams note, Miami Dolphins fans, but that's what I have got for today. Like I said, your thoughts from today's preseason opener, go ahead, drop them in the comments. If you haven't gotten subscribed yet, make sure you are doing that as well. We will wrap it for there, Miami Dolphins fans. Obviously, we will be back here as training camp resumes next week, and I believe we go on tap with Saturday against Washington. I believe that's what my mind is telling me right now. It's late. I'm tired. Let's just enjoy this one, Dolphins fans. We had a nice showing from some rookies tonight. But until next time, Fins up.